Okay, if that is the case, then of course you don't need all this. Oh, if that is the case, then can I say I return your grade is A? So you return an A grade. Elif self dot mark is, let me just copy this out, is greater than equal to 60, and self dot marks is less than 70. I'm going to say return Bombay. Elif copy 60. Instead of 60, can I say 40 and less than 60? Right? Can I say return C? Elif is greater than 0 but less than 40, greater than 0 but less than 40, failed. Else you can return invalid mark. Right? With this also, if I say, so with this we are done with, we have marks out here. With this we just run this out. Let me say I'm creating my first student ABC, gender is male, roll number is 10, marks is 50. Student S2 can be the one which is there above, yes, 90. S3 can be somebody else who's got DEF, maybe by mistake. Alright, maybe a male, and roll number is 12, and this thing is 90. Let's say got 35. Let me change the roll number of S2, which means I need to go to previous and then change it to 11. So I have S1 dot underscore underscore dict underscore underscore, S2 dot underscore underscore dict underscore underscore, S3 dot underscore underscore dict underscore underscore. You have these three things, right? Male, female, and male. Each of them have the mark. If I say S2 dot, I can do calculate grade. It says A. That means, oh, that's because she got 9. If I do S1 dot calculate grade, it will return for me. What will it return? It will return for me C, because it is between 40 and 60. C grade. Okay. If I ask for S3 dot calculate grade, it's going to return me fail. But if I create another student who is S4, and if I say create another student, he's just joined and he's just given his, he's just given his his name and his gender. That's it. If he's given that, and if I say S4 dot calculate grade, it will return to me fail. Why so? Because I gave a value that was 0 at default, which means I should have changed the default value and made it as -1, right? Because so then it would have printed return for me invalid marks, but it went to this particular case and returned fail, which is wrong, by the way. So I need to change that. Hope you can do that, right? With that, we have understood a few things about class. There is one more thing, one more concept which I need to introduce to you. Let's say this is self.gender, which means this is a instance of that particular object. There can be a class variable also. A class variable is defined outside the method. Let's call the methods of the class as count. Let's say count equal to 0. Right? Let's define the methods of the class as count. Save it, run it now. When I create the first student, let's say S1, I created S1, then I create S2, then I create S3, then I create S4, right? Now whenever I create these students, I expected that my count should increment, which means, how do I access the count variable? Student dot, I have something called as count, enter. it's not callable object. Student.count, it says it is 0. Whenever I created a particular student, I should have incremented the count by 1. How do I increment the count by 1? In the init method, can I do something like this? Can I say student.count plus equal to 1? Which means whenever a student calls the init method, whenever a new student comes, he's going to call the init method and the student.count is going to get increment. Let's run this out. Okay, and if I say I define S1, now if I call student.count, it's going to be 1. What if I say I create my second student and I call student.count, it's 2. If I create my third student and if I call student.count, it's 3. If I create my fourth student and if I call student.count, it's going to be 4. So a count variable which is there outside, which can also be accessed by saying using the object, that is s3.count is also going to return me 4, or s2.count is going to return, though s2._dict__ does not, the object does not have count as one of its members, but the class variable count can be accessed by s2. But remember only one thing, you cannot assign any value to it. s2.count cannot be assigned a value. If you assign s2.count equal to something, it will create one more member in your object. It will not do any changes to your class. Hope that is clearly understood. Now, what if, well, let's say over here, I delete a student, let's say S4. When I delete S4, now if I do the count, it says it is still 4. No, whenever a delete operation happens, I should have automatically deleted the count. I should have automatically deleted the count. How do I do that? I can, whenever a delete operation happens, this method is called by default. __del ___ just pass self. Self needs to be passed every time. Whenever this method is called, what do I want to do? I want to decrement my student.count by 1. Save it, run it, create my student once again, S1, S2, S3. What is my count? You can just check for now. Student.count, you can just make a check. It's 3. I'll create my S4. What is my count? 4. When I delete my S4, what is my count? 3. Hope you understood when you delete, how do I decrement using the class variable. So, is it possible for me to define another function define a function called as getCount of students? Number of students in the system, if somebody just wants it, okay, by calling it with the object getCount. So he'll call it like this. He'll say .getCount. What should I return to him? I should return to him the student.count value. Save it, run it. Of course, create the students, right? I create the students, and if any of the student wants to know how many students are there, if I call .getCount, s2.getCount, right? Says it takes 0 positional arguments, but 1 was given. Oh, I didn't put self here. That was a mistake. It takes one argument. It takes, we defined it with 0 positional argument, but we had given whenever an object calls it, he embeds a self in it already, which means we need to be careful whenever we define functions. We need to put that self out there. Created 3 students, and now if I say s2.getCount, it will return, what will it return? It will return for me the count of students. Is that clearly understood? Here we have classes, objects, using their methods, accessing them. Let's go into details of OOP in the next session. Thank you.